Chosen one, listen closely. This is not the same message you've heard before, and it's not arriving at a random time. Something is moving fast right now. A window is closing. A signal is flashing, and if you feel that pressure in your chest, that pull that says pay attention, this is why. Don't ignore this. What's unfolding in the next few minutes of your awareness matters more than you realize, because this isn't about later, or someday, it's about now, about a moment that doesn't repeat. God says, Elon Musk just followed a sign that leads to you. Open immediately. That line didn't reach you by accident. There's a secret layered inside it, and something in your spirit already recognizes it. You were guided here because you're positioned at the edge of a shift, and time-sensitive clarity is being released. This is one of those moments where if you hesitate, the opportunity doesn't vanish, but it moves, and it doesn't always circle back the same way. Don't ignore this, chosen one. You've felt it lately, the sense that the clock is moving differently. Days feel compressed. Thoughts arrive faster. Something is urging you to act, to decide, to finally look straight at what you've been avoiding. That's not pressure, that's preparation. This message carries a warning, but not fear. It's a loving urgency, the kind that says, pay attention right now. Because something is aligning behind the scenes. And you're part of that alignment whether you fully understand it yet or not. There's a reason you're called the chosen one. It's not ego. It's assignment. It's because you notice patterns others miss. You sense meaning where others see noise. And right now, a signal, yes, a real sign, is pointing toward you. High-level minds respond to signs. Visionaries follow patterns. Builders listen when something repeats. That's why this message references someone like Elon Musk, not to idolize, but to remind you that people who shape the future pay attention to signs before they make sense. Don't ignore this. You might be thinking, why me? That question alone confirms why you're here. You're not here because you're perfect, you're here because you're positioned. Because you've been quietly preparing, even when it felt like nothing was happening. God has been watching how you move in silence, how you keep going when there's no applause. And now, something is being unlocked, but timing matters. This isn't an endless invitation. It's a moment that asks for awareness right now, not later tonight, not tomorrow. Don't ignore this. There's a secret about the season you're in. What feels like pressure is actually acceleration. What feels like confusion is actually information arriving faster than your old framework can process. That's why this message feels urgent. It's not rushing you, it's waking you up. You didn't click this video for entertainment. You were drawn because something in you knows that this message intersects with a decision, a thought, or a step you've been circling for a while. God says this is the moment to look again, chosen one. Let me speak to you personally for a second. You've been carrying ideas that feel too big to explain. Visions that don't fully fit your current environment. You've downplayed them, told yourself later, told yourself to be practical. But here's the warning: delay dulls clarity. When a sign repeats, when a message finds you again and again, it's because time is asking for a response. Don't ignore this. If this resonates, don't just listen, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel, because these messages are part of a sequence, not isolated moments. Missing one doesn't mean failure, but staying aligned keeps you sharp. This channel exists to help chosen ones recognize timing, patterns, and direction without fear or confusion. If you're here, you're meant to be here, so make sure you're subscribed and don't miss what comes next. There's something else you need to know. The world rewards speed, but God rewards alignment. Right now, those two are meeting in your life. That's rare. That's why this message carries urgency without panic. You're not being chased, you're being invited. But invitations do expire when they're ignored. And you've ignored enough signs already. This one is louder because it needs to be. Don't ignore this. You may feel like you're standing at the edge of a choice you can't fully explain to others. That's okay. Chosen ones are often understood after they move, not before. The sign mentioned in this message isn't always external. It can be a sudden knowing, a repeated idea, a name that keeps appearing, a door that keeps opening just enough for you to notice. God says that sign has been activated, and it's pointing toward you now. Stay with this message. Let it unfold. Let it speak in layers. And remember, this isn't the same every time. Each moment carries a different weight, and this one is heavier for a reason. Something is aligning. Something is opening. And you were never meant to miss it. Don't ignore this, chosen one. Pause right here. This is not a replay, not a recycled warning, not the same message dressed in new words. This is time-sensitive. If this were the last 10 minutes of your attention today, it would still matter. If this were the final 1 minute before a shift you can't undo, it would still matter. Something is pressing in on this moment, and it's asking you to listen now, not later, not after scrolling, not when it's convenient. Don't ignore this. There's a reason the urgency feels heavier today. Some moments whisper. Others knock. This one stands in front of you and waits. You're not here by accident. And this message didn't find you randomly. It arrived because your awareness is needed now. Not every warning sounds like fear. Sometimes it sounds like clarity arriving just in time. Don't ignore this, chosen one. Let's talk about what you've been feeling, because the revelation doesn't start in the mind, it starts in the body and the heart. You may have noticed physical signals that don't fully make sense. A heaviness when you wake up. A sudden wave of tiredness even after rest. A tightness in your chest that comes and goes. Not pain, just pressure. As if your body knows something is changing before your thoughts catch up. Don't panic. This isn't danger, it's transition. Still. Don't ignore this. Mentally, things may feel louder lately. Thoughts overlapping. Moments of deep focus followed by sudden fog. You question yourself more than usual, even though you're more aware than ever. Old memories resurface without warning. Emotions rise fast, then disappear. This isn't weakness, it's sensitivity sharpening. When awareness expands, the mind recalibrates. But here's the warning: if you dismiss these signs, you miss what they're pointing to. Don't ignore this. Emotionally, you may feel strangely alone even when you're surrounded by people. Conversations feel shallow. Small talk drains you. You crave meaning but can't always explain what kind. Some days you feel incredibly strong. Other days, unusually quiet. This emotional fluctuation isn't instability, it's discernment activating. You're outgrowing an old layer, and shedding always feels uncomfortable before it feels free. Don't ignore this. Now listen carefully, chosen one, because this is where fear often enters the story. When change approaches, the mind looks for something to blame. It creates a hidden enemy, a third-party force, a shadow in the background. It might show up as self-doubt that feels external. Distraction that appears perfectly timed. People who suddenly misunderstand you. Situations that test your patience again and again. It can feel like something is working against you. This is where many people spiral. But stay with me, and don't ignore this. The fear says, something is blocking you. The fear says, you're falling behind. The fear says, if you don't rush, you'll lose everything. That fear is convincing because it mixes truth with distortion. Yes, resistance exists, but not as an enemy with power over you. It's simply friction. And friction appears only when movement begins. If nothing were changing, nothing would resist. Don't ignore this. Here's the revelation. The so-called hidden enemy is not a person, not a force, not a threat. It's an old pattern trying to stay relevant. Old habits. Old timelines. Old versions of you that were built for survival, not alignment. They speak louder when they sense they're about to be replaced. That's why the fear intensifies right before clarity breaks through. Don't ignore this. God says the solution isn't to fight harder, it's to see clearly. When you stop giving fear a face, it loses its grip. When you stop rushing to fix yourself, you stabilize. The moment you choose awareness over reaction, the pressure begins to shift. This is how you defeat what once felt overwhelming, not with force, but with presence. Don't ignore this, chosen one. This is why you were selected for this message. Others would scroll past. Others would dismiss it as coincidence. But you stayed because something in you recognizes timing. You're here because you're capable of holding awareness without panic. You can sit in uncertainty without collapsing into it. That's not common. That's calling. Don't ignore this. If this message is speaking to you, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel. These aren't random videos. They're layered messages meant to meet you at specific moments. Alignment sharpens when you stay in the flow instead of dropping in and out. If you're meant to hear this one, you're meant to hear what follows. Don't ignore this. Let's go deeper. The reason you're able to face this moment is because you've already survived quieter battles. Times when no one saw your effort. Seasons where growth happened internally while life looked still on the outside. That endurance wasn't wasted, it trained you for moments like this. Where awareness matters more than speed. Don't ignore this. You defeat confusion by slowing your reaction. You defeat pressure by choosing intention. You defeat fear by naming it without feeding it. This is how the chosen one moves. Not in panic, but in alignment. You don't need to prove anything. You need to recognize what's happening. And what's happening is this: you're crossing from preparation into activation. Don't ignore this. Time feels urgent because it is, but not in the way fear describes. It's urgent because windows of clarity don't stay open forever. Awareness must be acknowledged while it's present. That's why this message found you now. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. This minute. Don't ignore this. If you felt like something is ending without fully ending, if you've sensed a beginning without clear shape, if you've been pulled to reflect more than react, these are signs of alignment, not loss. The chosen one recognizes transition without demanding instant answers. Stay with it. Stay aware. And stay connected to this channel, because the message continues unfolding in layers meant for where you're headed next. This isn't the conclusion. This is the threshold. And right now, as this message continues to move through you, awareness is still opening, timing is still active, and what comes next depends on whether you remain present with what you're feeling instead of rushing past it. Because the next layer reveals itself only when you're willing to stay right here, breathing, listening, and not ignoring what's being shown.